I'm here with, welcome to the Redcar Rewind, I should say. I'm joined by Redcar co-promoter Jamie Swales, one of 3 co-promoters now.
Yeah, that's right. We announced tonight Keith Miller of ECCO Finishing Supplies, who's been a brilliant sponsor of ours for a lot of years now. He's stepping up to be the 3rd co-promoter in the club. So yeah.
How did that come about?
Me and Jade's obviously work full time as well. It's a lot of work to keep a club like this going. What's that all about, like? It's not me that gets 3 months of the year off, you know what I mean? So this week was a brilliant case of that, with 2 rained-off meetings and trying to rearrange fixtures while we're at work. There's always capacity for a 3rd promoter at any club. You can have 3. So just in conversation with Keith, it was something he was interested in getting involved with. He has said it in the past, and he was more than happy to get involved, and he's got some great ideas. So I think it's looking bright going forward.
Wonderful news. Right, moving on to tonight's meeting. The Bears were defeated 47-43 by the Oxford Cheetahs, giving them a massive leg up in our group for the playoff final. Danny King scored 3, 6, 10 plus 1 tonight. A solid performance from the standing skipper.
Yeah, that didn't give him justice really, because he had an exclusion in Heat 10 that it wasn't his fault. I can't remember who it was.
Locked up in front.
Louis, yeah. Louis, just track conditions come to almost a stop in front of him, and Danny had to lay it down to not hit him. I know Gavin was very upset with that decision. Obviously Danny was as well. There's not a lot the ref can do with that. The rider in front will always get the decision on that one. He stayed on the bike at the end of the day. It's wrong, but the ref kind of doesn't have a choice in that one.
Fair enough. Right, moving on. Daniel Hume, the rider of the night, got a Heat 15 selection, his 2nd or 3rd of the season. 8 plus 1 for Daniel.
Yeah, he attacked the conditions from the start. Obviously the track was tricky, and he just went for it from Heat 1 and never looked back. So it was a really good performance by him.
I'm just going to have a little interlude there, because I do want to mention that at 25-11 up, you as the promoter opted for a track grade. I heard shouts from the crowd saying, just leave it as it is. Obviously, we don't know what would have happened if there wasn't a track grade. Do you believe, in hindsight, it was a mistake? A, and B, why did we do a track grade?
Because the track needed grading. If you don't grade the track, it becomes dangerous. There's no option. We'd already skipped the track grade because we couldn't grade at that point because it was sloppy. We grade it when we can to keep the track a proper racetrack. It wasn't the best racetrack tonight. We had to get the meeting on. If we hadn't graded it, it would have got berms in the dirt, and that's when people start crashing. It wasn't the track grade that caused any issues. That's not what led to us losing points. So that's just a big red herring there.
Thank you for the explanation. Right, moving on to Connor Bailey, improving all the time, 6 plus 2 for the Tornado.
Yeah, again, I think he deserved more points than that. He really stuck it on the line in the later heats when he was behind people, and he scraped the air fence in one heat. We went out to have a look, and there was a big line along the bottom of it. So yeah, he never could give up in any of his rides.
Yeah, how he stayed on the bike there was absolutely amazing. Moving on to the guest, Kyle Howarth, who started the evening well, but ended up with 4 plus 1 for Kyle.
Yeah, again, he was unlucky in Heat 14. Him and Jason had got out on the 5-1, and unfortunately Jason hit a rut coming off the bends, and his front wheel come right up in the air, went right across the corner and nearly took Kyle out. So Jason managed to hang on to the bike and did he get the win or second?
Jenkins beat him.
Yeah, that was right. While he was controlling it, Jenkins slipped past him, didn't he? But unfortunately it pushed Kyle to the back. I think that would have been a nailed on 5-1 if they'd just hung on to that on the back straight. So yeah, again, Kyle, not a bad night, but his score wasn't the greatest because of that.
Moving on, Eric Riss, who struggled tonight with 3.
Yeah, it's just that season for Eric, isn't it? Hopefully he gets improving pretty soon. But yeah, he couldn't buy a start tonight, unfortunately.
Jason Edwards, who had a pretty good night for the Blaster, 4.25 average, but he returned 10 which is very impressive.
Yeah, and as I said, in Heat 14, I think he was unlucky to drop a point there when he was already clear, and there was a very, very hard ride by Louis in his one before when Jason was out in front. Nothing wrong with the move. Louis was entitled to do it, and credit to Jason that he hung on to it and give it a good go, but he was in front up until that point. So 10, yeah, good score by him.
Although we are happy with Jason, there are a couple of times it has happened where he's left a little gap on the inside, namely thinking of Steve Worrell. And tonight, is that something you just need? It'll just come with experience.
Yeah, he's a reserve getting passed by Heat leaders. He's getting passed less often, so that's just how you learn these things. While he's a reserve, if he's in front of Heat leaders, then sometimes they won't pass him, and he's doing a good job.
Big follower of Bears TV.
He's a good lad, isn't he?
And Luke Harrison, an impressive night for Luke, 2+1.
Yeah, he beat Ashton twice, didn't he? Which he said it was the first time he beat him, even though he's raced him quite a few times. So, he was happy with his night. He definitely did his job. We can't ask more than him than that.
So, before we move on to the Cheetahs and discuss what's coming up, we were joined by the captain of the Cheetahs, Scott Nicholls. So Scott will join us now. I'm now joined by the Cheetah skipper, Scott Nicholls. Scott, I walked past your team at Heat 5 or 6, and you said they're not going to call it off, and your team manager said we need to pull our socks up. And after that, the meeting literally just completely turned on its head. What did you say to your side, and what changed?
We pulled our socks up. It was simple. Conditions were tricky, there's no question, but it's the same for both teams. I think early doors, we can make a big deal of gate choices, but I think tonight, Heat's inside gates for you guys play dividends early doors, and it's tricky when you're behind, and you boys are attacking it, and we weren't. I appreciate I popped out the starting Heat for them. When you're in front, it's a whole different ball game to when you're behind. So, but it was it. Pete said the same thing, and I only really said what Pete said. Look, she's not going to call it off. So we've got two choices. We either get our crap together and go and race and give it the best we can, or we pack up and go home, really. So, the boys did. I'm proud of them, They all got stuck in. Then the gates did start to come to us. And, so that was a phenomenal meeting, I'm really happy to...
I disagree.
No, well, you would be biased, and likewise, I'm biased. It was... But it was, it was... we knew what we wanted, and we needed and wanted to get the points. And, obviously we know you're a bit weaker without Charles. We know how good he is around here. But in fairness, I think the conditions levelled that out as well, because it made it very, very difficult. And boys that you'd perhaps, feel more comfortable to pass when the conditions were the way they were, if you popped out the start, it was very, very difficult. So, we did what we needed to do, and the competition goes on. We want to be in the final, and I'm really happy. And also I'd like to wish Charles all the best for speedy recovery. It's never nice to hear a rider get injured.
Yeah. And last one, you guys... I'll be honest, when I was sat there, I thought after Heat 4 or 5, Oxford don't fancy it apart from you and maybe Sam, that's what I said. Did you ever get that feeling? I don't know if you've been with the side all year, so you're probably going to say no, but when a couple of your riders packed up, that's what it kind of looked like. Was it just literally the gates?
It was the gates, but no, I did look at some of the boys and thought, geez, they look like they're chucking a towel in already. So hence why Pete did what he did, and... sometimes you don't need to have a big chat. You don't need to go into major details. It's simple. Do you want it or not? It's a real simple question. And the boys realised we did, and that showed.
You pay per point. People got to remember that.
100%. You run around at the back, and you go home with a sad face and no money.
Right. Thank you very much, Scott, for joining us, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Pleasure. Thank you, and good luck to you boys against Glasgow.
Thank you. Take 2 for the final part of the rewind. So the Oxford Cheetahs, Mr. Swales, rose from the ashes, some would say, because when I spoke to Scott Nicholls, Scott said, I'll be honest, at some point after Heat 4 or 5, I thought a couple of our lads don't fancy it. But they turned it around and fair play at them.
Yeah, I think as soon as the track sorted itself out, they were away. They obviously don't like a bit of slop.
So Sam Masters, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 plus 1 for Sam. One of the best riders in the league, we know that.
Well, statistically, he's the best rider in the league, I think. So, To get him 3 third places, that's not a bad comeback for us, really. So yeah, he's always good round here, Sam.
Cameron Heaps woke up in the second part of the meeting and got 4, so better than Cameron's last appearance here.
Yep. Again, not a great deal to say there. So his points were invaluable in the end. It made the difference between when we were winning and when we were losing. So yeah.
Louis Kerr, 3, 6, 8, 9 plus 1 for Louis. He's done better around here. He's done worse around here, but it's probably an average return for Louis at Redcar.
Yeah, it's the type of score I would expect. The track wasn't to his likings. He likes the slick tracks, and it was quite heavy tonight, but he's still putting a good score there.
John Jenkins 7 the last time he was here. John Jenkins 7 again.
Consistent.
Scott Nicholls, who I thought he was one of the cheaters who fancied it from the off. 10, 11 plus 1 for Scott. A class performer at this level.
Yeah, he knows that when the track's difficult, if you attack it, then you'll be all right, and that's what he did from the off. I mean, him and Danny had a first bend incident where neither one of them was going to give way, and unfortunately it was Scotty that ended up in a pile in the fence, but that shows his commitment. He wasn't going to back out with that first bend. And
especially at, I hope you won't mind saying, a little bit more of an advanced stage. He's someone who youngsters should really look at, him and Chris Harris, and think, I want to be one of them. I want to be them one day.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been around a long time now, and he's been the ultimate professional in all of that time. So nothing's changed really.
And the 2 reserves: Henry Atkins 4 plus 1, and Ashton Bowsian the singular point tonight. Henry, I thought rode pretty well.
Yeah. He always does ride well here. He's a rider I like to see. He's had a good season. He's done well again tonight. Ashton has probably never seen the track this wet yet in his short career, so a bit of a baptism of fire at the start there. But yeah, he's obviously I missed his last ride, I must admit. So, heat 14. So, yeah, he did well to stay in front of Howarth in that one. Yeah.
Just 2 more things. Looking at the gate stats, pretty heavily weighted towards 3 and 4. Scott Nicholls did mention that, and not one singular winner from gate 1. Was that down to the conditions?
Massively conditions. I'm surprised. No, it wasn't weighted towards gate 4. Gate 4 was awful.
2 and 3.
Yeah, 2 and 3. So the bit in the middle of the meeting when we lost it was when we had a run of 4 races in a row where we had gates 2 and 4, and the initial because the way this track rides, everyone rides over gate 3, which is why normally gate 3 is awful here. But because it was sloppy tonight, all the slop ended up on gate 4, and it wasn't so much the actual gate, it was the run to the first bends. Everyone was jumping out the gate fine and then spinning up on the way to the bend. So the couple of wins from there, they did incredibly well. I mean, what was that, heat 4? So it probably was all right in heat 4, yeah. There wouldn't have been a load of slime up against it at that point, but Louis in that one, yeah, Louis just kept it pinned around the boards, if I remember rightly, for that one. So yeah.
No, went up the other side of Jason.
Okay, but yeah, gate 4 was awful, and the claps in the middle where they got, did they get 4 5 ones in a row, 3 in a row? That was when we had gate 4 each time. And you know, you can flip it the other way around. They'd obviously had gate 4 a few times before that, so I'm not trying to blame that on the loss. It's just that's why the score dramatically changed at that point.
2 more things. A, how do you pick the side up from this? And B, why is Wednesday's match still really important for us?
I don't think we need to pick the side up. I think they will be absolutely fine. We all knew going into the playoffs it was going to be a battle once we lost Charles. They showed a lot of battle tonight. Just unlucky to... the second best team in the league? Yes. So with 2 of our former riders, the best rider in the league and the most experienced rider in the league, it's always going to be hard here against them. Especially when we're missing the captain. We've got Glasgow tomorrow, we've got away at Oxford Sunday and Wednesday. We can still make it through, and it's important, and we are still going to try to do that. But it's important that we put a good showing out for everyone, that we aren't just going to roll over. And it's important for the other two, whichever team goes through from this group, they have to have raced someone committed in every match, or it's just, there's no point doing it.
And sorry, last one. Knockout Cup is now, obviously, we still want to get through, and obviously we'll try, but it is going to be extremely difficult now. Knockout Cup becomes the main priority as we go to Scunthorpe on Friday.
I wouldn't say the main priority. But we're still as committed to this as ever, and we can still get through in this. By the time we get to Scunthorpe on Friday, the playoffs is, the group stage is done then, so we'll know whether it is our last priority at that point or not. But the cup, we always put as much weight on the cup as we do the league. It's something we want to win.
Right, thank you very much for joining us. For the rewind, my phone's about to run out of charge. So, Jamie, are you going to the bar?
Of course.
Thank you very much.